the Cinema Judge!
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Cinema Judge. I hope my voice finds you well. Now, approaching the bench today, we have My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. It's been 21 years and still going strong because people keep showing up because it's a great family story. Now, let me just give you a quick rundown of the storyline. After traveling to Greece for a family reunion, a woman attempts to locate her deceased father's childhood friends. First, we're going to play the trailer, then immediately after that, we have a little featurette. And in the featurette, you're going to hear from writer, producer, director, pretty much the architect of this entire trilogy. And this is her first time directing it, by the way. And she gives some phenomenal interviews later on. They were so inspirational in the sense that I wanted to give her just a high five when I heard these interviews for the first time. But in this featurette, she talks about where we've gone from movie 1 to where we are today. And that is Nia Vardalos, who plays Tula.
A lot has happened since my big fat Greek wedding.
Like I never left.
My father passed away, and his last wish was for us to visit his childhood village and reconnect with our roots. So, we're having a reunion. We're going to Greece.
Oh, yeah?
2, 3, 4.
And by we, I mean the whole family.
Who wants souvlaki?
Paging souvlaki. Anybody by the name of souvlaki on this flight?
Aristotle, what?
I didn't know you were gonna be here.
What are you doing here? They had an amazing date. She ghosted him.
You are the Portokalos family. We are related through your papa's papa, who was married to my great Yaya's sister-in-law.
I'm Aunt Bula. I will be your favorite.
I promised my dad I would find his best friends.
I know them. Do they still live here?
No.
How do we find them?
They will come for the reunion.
Did they tell you they're coming?
No. There's no other bedrooms.
Family sleepover.
This is one reunion we'll never forget. Do you know these men?
No. I am surprised, but I am not surprised because I'm never surprised. You lost me.
Everybody say
We dreamt about Aristotle last night.
How did you know?
Greek voodoo. Bam!
I remember your story.
I really need to find my dad's friends.
Angela and I are on it.
Okay, bye.
Family ties. All of our strangers, but there's love in your eyes. We got these.
Let's do it!
I'm calling it. You got us back to Greece. You're the head of the family now.
I can't really day drink like this.
Don't worry, a lady is never drunk. Pick the one we have for dinner.
Oh, thank you. I'm a vegetarian.
No.
We got these family ties.
Hi, I'm Nia Vardalos. The Portokalos family is back in theaters on September 8th. So, since the first film came out 21 years ago, here's a quick refresher on what has happened so far, so you can get ready to see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. My character, Tula, is a real cause of concern for the rest of the family. Why? Because in the first movie, my character is unmarried at 30 years old, which is a pain point because even Windex can't fix this for her traditional parents, Gus and Maria. Tula works at Dancing Zorba's, their Greek restaurant, but decides to take a job at her Aunt Bula's travel agency, where she meets and falls in love with Ian Miller, a teacher who is tall and handsome and definitely not Greek.
Tula, Porky Pocket.
Portokalos.
Okay, Tula.
Ultimately, Tula finds the inner strength to not only stand up for what she wants, but also come out of her shell and show her family who she truly is. There are some bumps along the way, but in the end, there's of course a wedding, and Ian and Tula get their happily ever after. In my Big Fat Quick Wedding 2, I wrote about parenting and marriage because, you know what? It's getting tougher for everybody. Tula feels the pressure to be the fixer. Their businesses have fallen on hard times, and their teenage daughter feels like Tula is smothering her. Paris is also rebelling against the traditional Greek values of the family.
Mom's needy. Papa wants to marry me off. Yaya constantly tells me to never ever let a boy touch my pulaki. This family.
When the father Gus's attempt to convince the family he really is descended from Alexander the Great unearths a shocking truth. He and Maria were never legally married. The entire Portocalis clan is sent into chaos. But then a health scare puts things back in perspective, and Maria and Gus and Tula and Ian renew their vows before sending Paris off to college out of state. What's to come in my Big Fat Greek Wedding 3? This time, we're headed to the homeland.
We're going to Greece.
Oh, yeah.
The family is invited to a Portocalis family reunion and have a one-of-a-kind adventure in Greece. This film is filled with lots of fun and lots of heart, and I can't wait for you to see it this September, only in theaters. Please grab your tickets now.
Now, maybe it's just me, but me being a movie nut that I am, and maybe you too, I always wonder, where does an idea come from? What storyline came about and why? Well, coming up next, we're going to hear from writer, director Nia, and she explains what her original concept wanted to be for this one. And it's fantastic but sad at the same time, because she addresses Michael Constantine, who played her father in the show, and how she lost him before this was made because she already wrote a script with him involved. But it's just interesting how people deal with grief and how she went on from that, because she also lost her father that same year. So it's just, I just really appreciate the honesty of saying, this is what I want to do, and this is where I went with it. So first, you're going to hear from her explaining that a little bit.
I was making my Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, and I started to feel sadness toward the end of it. I felt like the story needs to go on. 3 always feels good, a trilogy. And so I thought, I have to do another one. And I wanted to tell the story about going back to Greece. And the original story was going to be, of course, that we go with Michael Constantine's character back to his village, because that's all my dad ever wanted, was for us to visit his village. And so I wrote this movie about taking Michael Constantine back to Greece. And then we, of course, lost Michael Constantine in the same year that I lost my dad. And I decided to just channel grief through my fingertips. And here's why. I realize if I'm going through it, then the audience must be too, because we started together. And in the same way that they're also going through family issues, people are growing up, kids are going off to college, well, of course, we've also probably lost a parent too. I wanted to pay homage to parents because I think in the familial journey that we are all on, you start as a child and then you start to parent your parents, and then eventually you have to become the parent. We all have a family unit and how it grows and evolves. And so I wanted to pay tribute to Michael Constantine because everyone's got a Michael Constantine story. He's funny. And it's hard for me actually to even speak about him in past tense because he's so much a part of us.
Now, in that interview, you heard her addressing Michael Constantine. Coming up next, we have a couple very, very nice interviews talking about Michael Constantine and what effect he had on the cast and everybody around him. So coming up next, you can hear from Joey Fatone, who plays Angelo, and also Gia Carides, who plays Nikki. And the story that they tell, I love. I'm just going to let you wait to hear it because it's really, really cool. And it really shows you what these projects mean to people. It's not just a paycheck. When you hear what happens in this coming up next interview, I was like, dude, that is so cool. Maybe it's just me, but I found it touching. Then after that, you're going to hear from Andrea Martin, who plays Aunt Vaula. And if that's not saying that right, I apologize. But she also addresses Michael Constantine and how this is a tribute to him.
It's been kind of interesting because of the fact that, as you know, that Michael Constantine passed away, who played Gus, who played our uncle, basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was one of the things, because I remember that they were even talking about, they had the script and everything was written, it was done, and we were ready to kind of go. And, you know, obviously the pandemic hit and everything hit, and then he got very sick. And I even remember even her, you know, telling us that he's texted, even saying, oh, you know what, go do the film without me, blah, 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 even though if I'm, you know, not okay, kind of thing. And sadly enough, he did pass. And we were like, okay, I guess we're not doing this. This is not happening now. And she found a way to pay an amazing homage to him, but also, really open up the Portacales family a lot more.
Yeah.
You get to see them a lot more.
And to write such an interesting twist of journey for him. He's not in our film. He's in all of our hearts. He's not physically there, but he's really present. And because of the delicious twist in his life, to give him that kind of exciting, unexpected background, we all feel him, and even some people get to say, there you go. Mm-hmm. Like characters get to actually have lines. So we feel his energy, and he's in the story. And
now it's on my leg.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Joey Fatone. Okay, Joey has a brand new tattoo.
It says, there you go, Gus.
There you go, the, Greek flag and Gus.
Obviously it's part of me. These movies were all a part of me.
And he just had that tattoo done in Corfu.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the script does honor him. I think it's really about him and kind of the end of his story, kind of the full circle of his story, to go back to the place that he was born in, and from his growing up in Greece, he was able to impart all the fabulous wisdom and philosophy that he did in the last two movies. And so I think it was a really natural way to do this third movie.
I mean, come on. How cool of interviews are those? Especially the tattoo part. They're talking, and he doesn't have to do that. I mean, he's Joey Fatone. But that shows you the connection these whole cast members have had together, because what is it they say, 22 years ago since the first one, give or take, but they have a connection. And that's what makes these kind of movies special, because you could feel it in the DNA. You could feel it when you watch them on the screen. They're having fun. It's not just they're there, but where they're there is Greece. Can you imagine being given that assignment? Oh, shucks, we got to shoot this in Greece. Oh, what a buzzkill. That must enhance the experience tenfold. So coming up next, we're going to hear about that. First from the director, how she talks about she used to go vacation there all the time, and she's scouting for sites, feeling the excitement. And she's like, wow, we could shoot here, we could shoot there. And just feeling it, I suppose it would be like a wave swooshing over you going, I could shoot this film here. This is amazing. And I love hearing her talk about her enthusiasm. You can hear it in her voice. It's not just, all right, we're just going to go shoot here and there, voila. No, she feels it, and it comes out on the film. That's what makes these kind of locations so exotic, because you think, oh man, someday I want to go there. And then you're going to hear other people talk about that too. And after that, you hear from Andrea Martin, Gia Carides, and Joey Fatone about just being there and how it just changes everything. And then immediately after that, we're going to play a scene for you. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of dialogue. So if you want to see these interviews or see some of these scenes that I'm going to play for you later, and they don't all have a lot of dialogue, but they're nice to look at, go to bit.ly/cinemajudge, bit.ly/cinemajudge. Because in that scene, after you hear Joey and her talking, it's them renting a car, and it's a convertible, and they're driving through town and seeing some beautiful sights. And then they finally end up on a boat where they drive the car on, and you hear the honk at the end of that scene. So that's what's happened coming up next.
I've vacationed in Greece for years and years, and then I get this outlandish idea that we're suddenly going to make a movie taking the big fat Greek family back to Greece. And so I wrote the script thinking, there's no way they're going to let me do it. Suddenly we're in Greece, and we're there, and we're scouting locations. And I was sending the cast pictures and images of like, we're gonna film here, and this set is available to us, and this is the village that's, its architecture matches this set that we're going to build. And I just was telling them things, but I did not expect it to come to fruition until the day I saw everybody in dance rehearsal. And that's when I realized we're doing it. We're actually making this movie, and everybody's here in Greece, the homeland.
It's like a storybook village, and it just steps right off the page and really enhances, I think, the story that Nia wrote. It was really easy to be the character in that village. You know, you didn't feel like an actress. The minute I walked on, I felt like this was my homeland. It was really powerful.
When we heard that number 3 was happening, I was deeply excited. I didn't expect it, I really didn't. Like, we sort of dreamed of it. And the first 2 films we shot in beautiful Toronto, and it was gorgeous, as Chicago. And we really had a great time. We really explored Toronto and had a really good time. It was a good bonding time. The first film was 22 years ago. Second film was 7 years ago. So when we heard about this one and there was a whisper on the ground that it was going to be in Greece, it was ridiculously exciting.
I've only been to Greece a very small portion at a time back in the day with NSYNC. It was in Crete, actually. So we never got a chance to see any. I've never been to Mykonos. I still haven't been there yet. But to be in Athens and then to be here in Corfu where we were shooting is freaking awesome. You know, it was one of those things because for me, when I was with the group, it was like 1 or 2 days you're in and you're out. Here I'm here for a couple of weeks. So then it's first of like getting adjusted to the time zone. And then it was finally, all right, let's go to this beach. Let's check out this place. Let's have a drink here. Let's find out just culture. Let's just go see this. Let's go see the Poseidon's, building of this and that. And it was just really, really cool just to be able to have the time to do that and to be here in Greece.
We get to do all the really fun stuff. Like suddenly we're on a travelogue of Greece doing everything fun that you could possibly want to do in Greece. And there we are doing it together and having a ball because he's always cracking me up, making me laugh.
Super comfortable.
Comfortable.
Like I said, not a lot of dialogue. But coming up next, we're going to hear from John Corbett, who plays Ian, and Andrea Martin, and then back to John Corbett. First things they talk about is getting back together. Because we all know, sometimes when you aren't around somebody for a while, you start it's all good, but then when you get back together, everything flows. Just like old times, you just fall into old roles, character traits, all that stuff. So first we're going to hear from John Corbett talking about that, coming back after I'm still with everybody now for basically over 20 years. And then Andrea talks about that also. And when we go back to John Corbett, he talks a little bit more about his character and where he's at now. And then after we hear from John, we have a clip for you. And in this clip, John, his character, Ian, he walks up to this old lady who's working on her farm or in her garden, and she's throwing food to her chickens. And she goes, pick which one you want for dinner. And he's like, I'm a vegetarian. And she says, no. The delivery of that lady is just phenomenal. And then he asks, for directions. And then, because you can't see it, she just kind of starts moving her head back and forth. And every time she moves his head, he moves that direction. Then she moves her head again. He moves that direction. And that's that scene. And all that is coming up next.
It's like people you go to high school with and you leave home and you go back home once a year or every few years and you bump into those people and 20 or 30 years have passed and you just pick right up. So it's like that.
To reunite with all my castmates, well, it was particularly dynamic because we all met in Greece. After all these years, to see everybody in our homeland, in the movie's homeland, that was pretty powerful and very emotional, actually, especially since Michael Constantine was not there. So in place of Michael there, we tried to form a unity in support of him.
Ian was a teacher in the first one, and the second one he had moved up to principal, and now Ian's retired because Ian and John are the same age. We're in our 60s. And that's what you do. And I think he's adjusting well to that. Paris is off to NYU. Maybe only a year or so's gone by from the time we saw the family last. We're coming back here to Greece for a special family visit. And the whole family's coming, which is fantastic.
Pick the one we have for dinner.
Oh, thank you. I'm a vegetarian.
No.
Which way's the path to the sea? Oh, thank you.
Now, I can't even imagine trying to direct any movie at all, but then trying to direct a movie for your first time ever, and you go across the sea, completely different environment, and try to control all these elements and shooting it there. I can't even imagine that scenario. But like I said earlier, there's some great interviews today. And this next one with Nia Vardalos is just spectacular. I remember when I first heard this one, I'm like, yeah, you go. Because she's been involved in all these movies from top to bottom. And she finally gets to direct it this time. And what a job she does. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, all those cool locations. But in this interview, I love the story she tells about the path of getting there. And what one producer told her at the end of the second film. And then what she says and how she responds to that is really inspiring. That she says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to grab everything I can. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. And I'm going to do this. I don't know, something about it was just inspiring. And all that paid off. Because after we hear from her, we're going to hear from John Corbett, Joey Fatone, and Gia Carides. They're going to talk about how impressed they are by her abilities and just being able to approach her. And like Joey says, even before she directed, in his mind, he saw her as a director because it was her words, her idea based on her family. So whenever something came up, he'd approach her, say, is this the right thing to do? And then we're going to hear from Andrea Martin. And she's going to talk a little bit about the director. But then she also talks about what an honor it's been to play this character. And she's done a great body of work. But it's funny to hear her acknowledge all the great stuff she's done, from Tony Awards, all these things. People know her for this role. And it must be really rewarding for an actress, actor, whomever, to have somebody come up to you and go, I loved that role. Then you know you're doing a good job.
I'm glad that I took the plunge to direct the third one. I do know that the creative producers had wanted me to direct the second one, but I didn't feel that I was ready, even though I had been in the editing room on the first movie, in with the orchestra recording the score on the first movie and the second movie. I'm just, I'm always there watching and learning and asking questions. Got to ask a lot of questions. And the producer, Gary Getzman, said, you know what the difference is between him and you? He pointed to the director on the second one, and he said he thinks he can do it. And that really stayed with me. And so I learned. In the time between the second and third one, while I was doing theater in New York, I studied, and I figured out all the angles, all the shot lists, everything I would need, everything I wanted to do. And then when they asked me to direct the third one, I very quickly said yes.
So when she said, I'm going to direct this one, it was not a shock to me because I already went down that road with her. But the one thing that changed since then, she's like pro now. She knows what she wants. She's not trying to figure anything out. She's telling the cameraman what to do and the guy with the sound and us actors, and she's acting also. So it's a 10-ring circus, not a 3-ring circus. And just watching her do it now I've been here for a month or longer, and I haven't seen her even get close to cracking. I crack, and I'll yell, hey, we need everybody's attention. And she'll just calmly say, I'm going to need everyone's attention right now. And I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she doesn't go berserk. But she's really good at it.
Honestly, having Nia as the director, she always, to be honest, always felt like the director to me. Because, she was the one that wrote everything on paper. She was the one that was her family. So we always went to her and kind of was like, hey, what do you feel? Or what is this? Or what should I do? How should I do it? And that's kind of how it went about from 1, 2, and 3.
That's the truth. I mean, the passion and the heart of this story, coming from her and her true life, it always informed everything that the past two directors you know, they guided beautiful films and films that were delightful to watch. But Nia was truly the heart of it, and we did run everything by her, and we wanted her input always. And it was always fun to be in a scene with her, and then, you know, she often would let us all run over and look at playback, and that's a lot of fun, and do it again. And having her actually sitting at that director's chair has been so exciting. And I've been pulling my camera out all the time and taking pictures of it because I just feel like a proud cousin, sister,
that's true.
whatever. It's just gorgeous watching her do it.
Agreed, yeah, because she's doing, you know, all
She's
three
doing a
hats.
great job.
She's writing, she's directing, and she's acting in it as well.
It's exciting.
So it's interesting when she's like, all right, cut, now I have to get into makeup, bye. And she goes off and then comes back. So, you know, it's a lot of hard work, but, you know, we try to, for us, I think that's what's great about her, and I think the reason why she did bring a lot of us and pretty much all of us back was due to the fact that she trusts us. She knows that we're going to handle the job and do what we need to do, and she can worry about what she needs to do there on that side. It's almost like, all right, yep, cool, great, I love it. All right, perfect, let's go.
It was a fabulous asset to have Nia as the director because, first of all, she never had to stop and say, let me ask the writer, because she is the writer. So I thought it was very fluid. And I thought it enhanced the scenes because she knew exactly what she wanted. You know, she's lived this life. That was really beneficial. I think gratitude is the first word that I feel, that I would have been asked to do this part. And the part was, I didn't know it at the time, was really close to who I am as an Armenian woman. And it was a real gift to be able to play a character that's a little larger than life, but really no larger than life of every Armenian woman that I know. So it feels really natural to play the part. That's one thing. That's the kind of character development. But over the last 20 years, and I've done many things over the last 20 years, I would say without a doubt this character and this movie or franchise is the one thing that people, if they know me, know. They might not know the Tony Award-winning performance. I mean, they might not know of anything I've done on Broadway or any television show I've done recently or that's on the air now, but they know my Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Isn't that just great? Now, coming up next, we're going to hear from Joey and Gia again. And what they talk about is the themes and the meaning behind this movie. And this is just one great interview. I just love the energy that these two share and the passion that they talk about when they talk about this movie. But then I'm going to have the whole bunch, not whole bunch, but several interviews of the writer-director. And I just love the story she tells and how she writes. And when she went to a location, that story is top-notch. I'm not going to give anything away. But her just describing the process and everything that's involved in what she does, I just sit back and just go, way to go.
It's been pretty amazing, you know, the impact that the Portakalis family had on the world, I honestly would say. I mean, it hit home to a lot of different countries, I think, just because you always have the loud uncles or the loud family or, you know, the big whatever wedding it may be, whether it be Italian, you know, Greek, Irish, it doesn't matter. We all have those families that we have that bond, and there's always whatever the tradition is.
So
you know,
true.
it could be completely different or whatever religion, but it's always that same connection and bond with the family. And that's kind of what comes
And
first.
I've had people come up to me from Italian background, Indian, everything, and say, I don't care what that is, that it's Greek, that's my family. And they're Pakistani, they're French, they're Jewish, and they relate completely to it.
You know what's really cool about the third one? I think it's now that perfect timing.
Oh my God.
Everybody needs this kind of
film. The world
film,
has
you
been
know?
a little sad the last few years. I mean, there's always a lot of heavy stuff going on in the world, but it's ready for another My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It just really is. I love for audiences in this film that it's dealing with acceptance and actually being on your own journey. Even though there's a wedding, and even though each of the films has had a wedding, this one for me is really about a solo journey, but in the most joyous way. You know, Gus is gone. Maria is now on her own. Nia's character Tula is on her own journey for her father. And it's just, we meet the new character Victory, who's incredible. And Alexandra has raised that boy alone. Like, it's really about solo journeys, but uniting of a whole village. It's a very strong film. It made me cry my eyes out, this film. I don't know if I'm more emotional at my age now than I was 22 years ago.
I cry when I read a Hallmark card, so yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it really touched me, this one. It really touched me.
Again,
it's extraordinarily deep.
It's exciting because you're also getting to see into the Portocalis family. Like you said, you know, we're actually going to roots now. We're going to their hometown, their land. You know,
we're
the
going
homeland.
back. We're going
so
back.
I think that's what's really cool, to get a chance to now see the culture of, and I mean, obviously of Greece, and the culture of what they have to offer and everything. So it's really cool.
I think that every family, it's been my experience in the last 20 years, that no matter what your nationality is or your culture is, everybody has a Joey Fatone or has an Aunt Vula. So they're all easily identifiable. So I think people feel like they're part of an extended family when they come up to Joey or they come up to me. No one's shy when they say it. They're totally excited. And I don't mean excited because they're seeing somebody that they know. I think they feel like, well, they're seeing a family member, and they're really so warm and generous in their excitement when anybody really comes up to me. So it's very comforting. If this movie can bring some pleasure, some act of decency, some act of joy in the place that we're in as a country, as a world, I think we feel, coming out of the pandemic, detached, and we felt isolated. And I think this movie bridges all that and says, come into our arms and you're no longer alone. I think the movie will do that. Based on the last 20 years of people coming up to me, I think people will sit back in their seats and feel taken care of.
I did a 3-part process of preparation. I prepared the script. As the writer, I went through numerous rewrites, and I took every note into consideration from the studio because they're wonderful partners. And I wanted to create a movie that we could all be invested in. And also, studio executives read a lot of scripts, and they can spot ideas that might not have been filled to fruition, where they should go. So I made sure to absolutely have a script that was in shape. To prepare for the role of Tula, I watched the first 2 movies. I tried to match the voice. The way I write is from a place of motivation. In every single scene, I ask myself, what does this character want? What does that character want? So throughout the entire movie, I went back through the script and I asked myself what I wanted in every single scene. And because Tula is the fixer of the family, sometimes that's, for me, an easy arc. But at the same time, you have to be careful that it's relatable to the audience. It can't be the all-encompassing motivator of a person, because nobody is just the fixer. They're also this part and this part, and they have multifaceted parts of their character. For directing, I did shot lists, copious amounts of shot lists with Barry Peterson. We went to locations, we looked at the sun, we charted where it would be. I created what I thought the scene would be. He would ask me, who is the most important character in this scene? And then we would begin to build a multi-camera shot list. We went to this town and it was very quiet, only 20 inhabitants, just like the scene when the family arrives in the village. And we were walking around, and I said to Barry, you know what I really need? For that scene when we're looking down from the rooftop, I would love to have a vantage point, top of the village looking down. And we're looking and we see a church spire, but I'm telling you, it had a rickety balcony around it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is where it ends. No, we're not climbing that thing. We have 20 crew members with us, and we're walking around looking for where can we go up high, whispering in this town. And this man appears here, like right here, and he goes, Nia Vardalos. And I go, yes, hello, how are you, sir? And he says to me in Greek, are you looking for a high up point? And I say, yes. And he goes, come to my house. And so we walk, 20 crew members and me, we walk through the town, he opens the door, we walk through his house, he has 3 floors. We walk to the top floor. He doesn't tell his wife, who's sunbathing nude, that we're coming, okay? So she sees him and she goes, what the hell are you doing right now? And then she goes, Nia Vardalos, and stands up, and she takes the world's smallest face cloth and puts it over one breast and comes and hugs me. And we got that house.
What'd I tell you? That's just a great story. But I love the passion. I love the everything about that interview. She's so forward and honest. And I really hope she chooses to do more directing in the future. Because why not? She has the passion. She knows what she's doing. She has the support of her people. And that's all it takes. When you have your whole group working with you and you have a vision, you can't lose. So I truly look forward to see what she's doing in the future. I hope you enjoyed our in-depth look at My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. Now, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, any way to improve the show, feel free to let me know. cinemajudge@hotmail.com. Or you go to Instagram where I'm The Cinema Judge. And it's on most platforms too. And it's also on YouTube. So if you ever want to go there, I have it there. And I have like still pictures playing there. So if you enjoy YouTube, do it there. But I'm on Google, I'm on Amazon, you name it. I'm on most platforms. I'm also on Threads, Pinterest, Tumblr, Hive, Mastodon, TikTok, and even the Meta Universe. Sometimes I go on there late at night. Just look for me, Cinema Judge. And often I'm on Ace of Clubs, Laser Tag, or anywhere else out there. It's just a blast. I just go there, hang out, we talk movies. So if you're ever bored and you're on the Meta World area, feel free to stop by because it's just like us talking one-on-one. And I really enjoy talking to people from all over the world. That's what really sets that apart. I can be talking live, real time, with somebody on the other side of the pond or other side of the planet, whatever it is. It's just so cool. And we get to talk movies. What more do I really need? But either way, all I care about is that you let me know. Because I can't grow if I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and yell, complain, criticize Hollywood. That's not what we do here at Cinema Judge. We know we all walk a different path. Who am I to tell you not to see a movie? Because any movie is somebody's favorite movie. The way I look at it, we all want to spend our hard-earned money wisely. Because we all want the same thing. An enjoyable movie experience. It's that simple. I'm not into it to get up more noise out there. I want this to be a little cozy hangout, a little place where you can just get away from all the noise. Or better put, a movie oasis. Because there's so much of that, and there's no need to be yelling about movies for goodness sakes, because that's the one place you could escape. And that's what I want to do here. Provide you the evidence, the jury, because I'm just a judge. I just give you the evidence. And then you make up your own mind. Because nothing annoys me more than somebody tells me not to see this movie because of this or this. No, let me figure it out for myself. That's what we do here. And that's what I like, man. It's like, I don't care if you listen to this 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now. And you might be listening it while you're at work, driving home, or just relaxing. It doesn't matter. All I know is, it doesn't matter wherever you are, whenever you are, or whatever you're doing. I do this for all of us, and I do this for you. Because I want to learn about a movie. That's the big deal. That's all I care about. But this is the part of the show where I give you guys a shout out for those who listened to the last episode. And I know a lot of you take time out of your life to listen to old episodes. And that's great. It's just far impossible to find out where and when and track all that. I'd have to take screenshots every day and try to figure out which ones are new. That's a lot of work. It's just last one, click on that and it gives you ballpark where people listen to. So I can't tell you how much it means to me that you take time out of your life to listen to this show, all the things you could be doing in the world, and you take time to learn about a movie. And that's what I like, because it's not always about the blockbuster. It's not always about the big, big movie. Sometimes it's those littler films that you might not have ever thought of seeing. But I want to give you the information to say, maybe I want to see this movie. And so you don't have to have somebody else tell you, make all this conjecture. That's what we do here. I know I'm being redundant, but I'm so grateful for you to take time out of your life to listen to this show. And all over the world, that's what blows me away. There's people from Germany and everywhere else. It just blows me away. And I'm honored. So this is for you. And this is just kind of a quick little version. So this is if I don't mention you, it's not because I don't care. It's just I couldn't get to all of them. From all my people from the United States, Germany, like I said, you guys are outstanding. Same thing with Canada and Luxembourg. Incredible how you guys take time out of your life. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Schuwanel D. Brandenburg, is that right, guys? St. Paul, Minnesota. Brampton, Ontario. Maple Grove, Minnesota. Valencia, California. Always there to listen. Thank you so much, Valencia. Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota. Same thing with you. Same thing with New Prague. Luxembourg, and Frankfurt am Main, Hesse. Always solid and steady. That's just to name a few this week, but to each and every one of you, thank you so much for taking time to listen to this show. And this week's bourbon shout-out goes out to Mr. Ron. Ron, good sir, let me tell you about this guy, Ron, ladies and gentlemen. I've known him for over 20 years, and we've had such great conversations from movies, music, life, big life questions, and all kinds of things. And he never gets sick of me. I mean, he probably does, but he never shows it. We can sit there and ramble about important things and unimportant things. And it's just a blast talking to him. And I love it that he listens to the show and he helps me out, gives me ideas. Because like I always just got done telling you, I can't grow if I don't know. So anytime you have anything to say, let me know. And I love that he does that. That's phenomenal. And he's a great cook. So a lot of times we get spoiled at work. We'll be like, oh, we're busting our butts. It's crazy busy. And here comes Ron with some glorious food. We're like, okay, we could take the crushing thing of work for that moment because Ron brought some good chow. So to you, Ron, cheers. And I'm thankful. Now, most of you know, when I'm making the TV version of this, I'm cranking tunes because that's my happy place. Music and movies. Without those two, what's the point of walking around this planet? So what I was doing when I was listening to this one, it was kind of a memoriam, if you will, because the great Jimmy Buffett has left us, and the music that he's left us behind is just, it'll be eternal. And that's something so great about artists like that. They are now immortal. That music's gonna go for years and years and years. And I just sat, when I was making this show, I was just cranking Jimmy Buffett. So many memories from childhood. If you grew up in the 70s or 80s or in that era, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That happy feeling that he could give you. But here's the great thing about Jimmy Buffett. Not only could he write songs that are funny, but also just heartfelt. And that's what makes a true artist. Not just one way or the other. He could do it both. He can make you laugh and he can make you cry. But the songs will always stick with you. He was a master at what he did. And we are all going to miss him so very, very much. So if you've never had an opportunity or never given a thought to think of playing in some of his stuff, do it. Take that dive. Because he's so much more than just one or two songs. Because the guy had skills. So take time out of your life one day, put it on your playing device, whatever you do. Just put on Jimmy Buffett's greatest hits. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Well, that is it. My glass awaits. I'm thirsty. So cheers to you and to the movies. So until next time, be well, be good, and I'm gone. I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening to The Cinema Judge.